Welcome to Hannity. And tonight, breaking news from former Vice President Kamala Harris. This is entertaining. She just confirmed something we've been telling you on the show for months and months. Jasmine Crockett is the future of the Democratic Party. Take a look.
You describe in the book something that you called a secret project that you ran as vice president, that you called the STARS Project, identifying up-and-coming talent in the Democratic Party. You'd meet with them, ask them about their interests. You say that more than one of them said they felt like they were being called to the principal's office when you asked them to come in. But the folks who you met with in this way include some of the people who you see very frequently now on MSNBC: Jasmine Crockett, Angela Also-Brooks, Maxwell Frost, Robert Garcia Moore.
Run, Jasmine, run. That's all I can say. We have a lot more on that coming up. Just a small sampling from the first 24 hours of Kamala's amazing book tour. It's going about as well as you would expect. We have full coverage of that, all the lowlights that will entertain you. But first, tonight, the Trump doctrine, a warning for the world, and frankly, a death knell for globalism. President Trump addressing the UN General Assembly earlier today, and he did not hold back. It was no holds barred. Nothing was off limits. No country was off limits. No person was off limits. The UN was not off limits. Anyone had any doubts that Donald Trump is the leader of the free world? That illusion was shattered today. It's almost as if those gathered at the UN might have been worried, might have known what Trump was probably going to do, and that means go after them, because there were a lot of roadblocks in the president's way this morning as he headed to deliver a message to the delegates that they were not exactly looking forward to. The escalator leading to the chamber stopped the moment the president and the first lady, if you look at this, stepped onto it. And when Trump made it onto the stage, the teleprompter, that wasn't working either. And Trump recalled the episode in his speech. Take a look.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations: a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. It just went on. Thank you. I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier.
The UN with a history of globalism, virulent anti-Semitism, anti-Americanism, and now a broken teleprompter and escalator. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt pointed out the Times newspaper reported this weekend that UN staffers had actually contemplated turning off the escalators to embarrass Donald Trump. The UN now says the escalator stoppage was triggered by someone running it up it too quickly before the Trumps. I'm not sure I buy it. Now, given the security and safety implications here, the UN should investigate further, and maybe they should be absolutely sure. Look, there's no other way to say it. President Trump called out the UN directly to their face. Again, historically anti-Semitic, anti-American, pro-globalist, everything. And by the way, he should. In 2023, we gave the UN some $13 billion taxpayer dollars, about 25% of their entire budget, and 75% of that contribution was voluntary. What do we have to show for it? A broken escalator, a broken teleprompter, and a world broken by war and a useless institution that pushes globalism. But the president was undeterred by the setbacks, proceeded to deliver what I actually believe was the best speech on the world stage I've ever seen him give. It was deep, it was impactful, it was profound. He spared no one from his truth-telling, friend or foe alike. He challenged every single globalist institution, starting with the UN itself for their failures and outdated way of thinking. He laid out a new vision for the world. President Trump uniquely understands that the power, the might, and the purpose of this country, the United States of America, must be used as a force for good, and that's exactly what he is doing. Now, that goal requires the cooperation or the fear of other nations, especially our friends and our allies, and he is using both effectively. They should not be economically supporting our enemies, and the president reminded them of all that today. Take a look.
Inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war against themselves. Who the hell ever heard of that one? I mean, you're much closer to the city. We have an ocean in between. You're right there. And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them, and it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that.
How stupid. You know, Western Europe funding Putin's war machine. Now, the president did not leave Europe alone after that. He had a very dire warning for our allies in the Western world. The end is near for your societies if you don't change course and change course fast. Take a look at his admonition.
Europe, on the other hand, has a long way to go, with many countries being on the brink of destruction because of the green energy agenda. I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders.
Couldn't be more correct. And later in the day, President Trump even got the opportunity to face the French President Emmanuel Macron directly with his displeasure over France recognizing a Palestinian state. Watch this encounter.
Well, I think it honors Hamas, and you can't do that because of October 7th. You just can't do that. But we want our hostages back, and we don't want them back in, ones and twos and take the next 2 years to do it.
But the president did not only call out our friends, he had plenty to say about our adversaries as well. Early in his address, he reminded the world about how he handled the long-running threat of Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapons. Peace first, always. But if negotiations falter, a time does come to use the unrivaled strength of the United States military. Take a look.
The world's #1 sponsor of terror can never be allowed to possess the most dangerous weapon. That's why, shortly after taking office, I sent the so-called Supreme Leader a letter making a generous offer. I extended a pledge of full cooperation in exchange for a suspension of Iran's nuclear program. The regime's answer was to continue their constant threats to their neighbors and U.S. interests throughout the region. Today, many of Iran's former military commanders, in fact, I can say almost all of them, are no longer with us. They're dead. And 3 months ago, in Operation Midnight Hammer, 7 American B-2 bombers dropped the 14 30,000-pound each bombs on Iran's key nuclear facilities, totally obliterating everything.
Also, the president reminding the entire world of the 7 conflicts that he helped to end around the world, even ones that he had, that they had gone on for 30-plus years, on for decades. Take a look at what he said.
In a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. In all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. This includes Cambodia and Thailand, Kosovo and Serbia, the Congo and Rwanda, a vicious, violent war that was, Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan. It included all of them. No president or prime minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them.
No, they didn't. They're pretty useless. Now, after patiently offering Russia and Putin an off-ramp to war and to death, President Trump, they're now giving Russia the Iranian treatment. Now, here's what he said today after the speech about repeated Russian incursions on NATO airspace. Listen to this.
Do you think that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I do.
And in a Truth Social post this afternoon, President Trump encouraging Ukraine and Europe to take the fight to Russia and announced that the U.S. will continue selling arms to NATO, which NATO can then give to Ukraine. He called Russia a paper tiger that should have won this war in 3 weeks. The world is now on notice. President Trump is a crusader for peace, but he will not hesitate to use the awesome might of this country for a force for good. And by the way, after they push him to the limit, he's trying hard for peace. And after a full day of diplomacy in New York today, President Trump will return to Washington and turn his attention to domestic matters like the government funding deadline approaching at the end of the month. This morning, the president canceled a meeting with Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, telling them that he will not be held hostage by their insane demands, which include things like over $1 trillion in new spending for health care for illegals, taxpayer-funded gender swap surgeries for minors, open borders, men and women's sports. All the Democrats have to do is vote to pass a clean funding extension. Right now, they are the ones moving our government towards a shutdown, which is odd, because in the past, they have been quite outspoken about how bad shutdowns are for America. In case you've forgotten, here's a reminder.
It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want.
If the government shuts down, it will be average Americans who suffer most. A government shutdown means seniors who rely on Social Security could be thrown into chaos.
Families will be hurt. Farmers will be hurt.
It's the service members who will work without a paycheck. It's the firefighters who will be furloughed.
This shutdown, you know who's going to feel the pain? You know who it hurts? You. Everyday people and the most vulnerable. Seniors, veterans, working families, hungry kids, y'all.
Democrats are signaling they're ready for a fight. This time, Schumer tells the Associated Press, quote, things have changed.
It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want.
You just love the Washington swamp. Surprise, surprise. Democrats playing politics again. President Trump presented a bold new vision for America in the world today at the UN. They want no part of it. They would rather just wallow in their own hatred. Shocker. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.